What if the biggest secrets in Hollywood aren't the scandals splashed across tabloids, the quiet battles fought behind closed doors, betrayals, the billion-dollar decisions, and the heartbreak no one saw coming? From chart-topping fame to devastating loss, from luxury empires to shattered relationships, this is the side of celebrity life they never wanted you to see. What really happened when the spotlight dimmed? And who paid the highest price for staying in it? Keep watching, because the truth is more shocking than the headlines ever were. Long before the world knew her as the goddess of pop, Cher's life began in an unstable patchwork family. Her mother, Georgia Holt, was a struggling singer and actress who married young, first to John Sarkeesian, a charismatic truck driver who would be the source of Cher's proud Armenian roots, and then to 6 other men. That's not an exaggeration. 7 marriages, including 2 to John. Georgia's search for love, respect, and a stable home for her daughters brought more transitions than most children can endure. By the time Cher was 2, the financial strain became so severe that her mother left her in a Catholic orphanage while she scrambled for work. That was just the beginning. The emotional whiplash of constant change marked Cher's early years. She grew up shifting between her mother's unstable homes and her grandparents' modest household. It wasn't unusual for Cher and her half-sister to pack up in the middle of the night and start over. There were weeks when dinner was canned stew and beans, and other times when they found themselves living briefly in Beverly Hills. That kind of inconsistency doesn't just shape a childhood, it carves a soul. And yet from that chaos, a quiet resilience began to form. Cher once admitted she used rubber bands to hold her shoes together in school, ashamed of her worn-out clothes. That image, this future global icon, walking with makeshift shoes, might be one of the most haunting contrasts between who she was and who she would become. She wasn't just poor in money, she was poor in stability, in comfort, and in understanding. She struggled in school, not because she didn't care, but because learning didn't come easy to her. She faced undiagnosed learning difficulties, endured judgment from teachers, and read report cards that accused her of not living up to her potential. But deep inside, Cher had a fire that even poverty couldn't extinguish. While her classmates obsessed over prom and school dances, Cher was visualizing stadiums, outfits, and encores. At 16, she left high school behind and set out for Los Angeles, armed with nothing but determination. That's when she met Sonny Bono, then just a man in the music business with connections, but no real fame. Their early relationship was grounded in practicality. He gave her a place to stay, and she helped around the apartment. What started as convenience blossomed into something iconic. They became a duo, musically and romantically. With I Got You Babe, they exploded onto the cultural scene. The song wasn't just a hit, it was an anthem. It embodied the hope, the rebellion, and the love of the 1960s. But fame doesn't freeze time. As music evolved, Sonny and Cher struggled to stay relevant. Their gentle folk pop fell out of favor. And when their ventures into film, like Good Times and Chastity, flopped, the financial strain hit hard. Suddenly, it wasn't just about art, it was about survival. They launched live shows in Las Vegas, cleverly blending music and comedy to reinvent themselves. That pivot worked, temporarily, but it marked a deeper shift. Cher wasn't just a singer anymore. She was a performer, a brand, and eventually, a solo star in her own right. Her ability to shapeshift with the times would later become one of her strongest assets, both artistically and financially. And in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, reinvention isn't optional, it's necessary. Now let's pull back the curtain on Cher's financial empire, one she built not just through talent, but through razor-sharp instincts. Her real estate portfolio spans from Los Angeles to Malibu, to a Venetian-style estate in Miami. Her former Malibu mansion, perched high above the Pacific, sold for a staggering $85 million, a true testament to her taste and status. She's driven everything from classic Cadillacs to Bentleys, but it's her devotion to luxury and independence that's even more striking. Her collection of watches includes vintage Rolexes and custom Cartier timepieces, symbols of timeless prestige. Cher isn't just a consumer of luxury, she's an investor. She's dabbled in fashion lines, fragrance deals, and production credits in film and television. Name alone became a valuable brand, one she protected fiercely. Over the years, she's taken out insurance policies not just on her health and career, but on her voice, her most prized asset. In a business where one lost note could mean the end, she played it smart. Her financial strategy is rooted in diversification, never relying on one stream of income, never putting all her faith in fleeting fame. That's why, even after decades in the spotlight, she remains relevant, wealthy, and powerful. The financial lesson here: adaptability isn't just a survival skill, it's a growth strategy. Cher's life reads like a novel. Heartbreak, resilience, and reinvention on every page. From orphanages to oceanfront estates, she's walked every road and paid every price. The glamorous image we see on stage is real, but so is the woman behind it, scarred, tested, but never broken. In a town where reinvention is often the only path to survival, Cher's transformation in Las Vegas was more than just a career move. It was an act of self-preservation. Struggling financially and emotionally, she and Sonny Bono turned their fading music fame into a dazzling lounge act. What started out of sheer necessity evolved into a comeback nobody could have predicted. Their clever on-stage banter, sharp contrasts in personality, and undeniable chemistry reignited public fascination. It wasn't long before television executives saw gold. And so, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour was born, rapidly becoming a ratings juggernaut. What audiences didn't see was the emotional unraveling behind the laughs. The illusion of unity was as much a performance as the skits they acted out on stage. And sometimes, pretending for the cameras became the only glue holding their real lives together. The public saw glamour and success, but in private, their marriage was coming undone. Sonny's diary entries from that time reveal the painful truth. Keeping up appearances had become more important than healing real wounds. For Cher, the burden of smiling through heartbreak became unbearable. Eventually, even their combined professional ambitions couldn't mask the distance between them. By 1974, the dam broke. Cher filed for divorce. What followed was more than a separation. It was a total unraveling. She walked away not only from her marriage, but from the financial empire they'd built together. To the world, she was a megastar. In reality, she was nearly broke. Sonny had controlled their business dealings, leaving Cher with little understanding of their financial structure. When they parted ways, she discovered just how little was left in her name. Cher, once a face seen on every magazine cover and billboard, was now burdened with legal bills, back taxes, and minimal assets. It was a hard fall, but it became the crucible from which she would rise again. What could have destroyed someone else only hardened Cher's resolve. And when the world expected her to fade, she chose the unthinkable. Starting over. Alone and uncertain, Cher launched her own variety show. And to everyone's surprise, including her own, it became an instant success. Audiences who had once tuned in for the duo now tuned in for her. She was magnetic, sharp, and raw, in a way that felt refreshingly honest. At the same time, Sonny tried to launch the Sonny Comedy Review, but it failed to resonate and was cancelled within a season. Their careers had diverged, and it was clear. Cher was standing tall on her own. Just as her television career soared, her music career faltered. A string of underperforming albums from 1975 to 1978. Stars I'd Rather Believe in You cherished, left her creatively and commercially adrift. The audience who once adored her voice now seemed uninterested. Even a duet project with her new husband, Southern rock legend Gregg Allman, fizzled. To The Hard Way, released under Allman & Woman, failed to connect with fans. For the first time in her career, Cher began to fear irrelevance. Amid this professional uncertainty, her personal life took yet another dramatic turn. Just 3 days after finalizing her divorce from Sonny, Cher married Gregg Allman. It was a union as passionate as it was volatile. Only 9 days in, she filed for separation. Cultural clash was immediate. Allman's rock and roll lifestyle clashed hard with Cher's showbiz sensibility. But Gregg, knowing what he could lose, fought for reconciliation. Cher, ever hopeful, gave it another shot. They tried to build something real amidst chaos, but the strain never fully lifted. Behind the scenes, Cher's financial journey was transforming too. With no safety net, she began to learn the mechanics of wealth and power. Over the years, she assembled an impressive real estate empire. From a stunning Italian Renaissance-style mansion in Malibu to sleek modern penthouses in New York and Los Angeles, her properties are estimated to be worth well over $100 million. Current net worth sits around $360 million, with projections estimating growth as she continues licensing deals, brand collaborations, and new media ventures. Cher has also built a portfolio of rare timepieces and luxury vehicles. Her garage has held everything from a classic Bentley Continental to a matte black Ferrari 812 Superfast. Her preference for Cartier and Audemars Piguet watches adds an extra layer of elegance to her brand. Private jets? She doesn't flaunt them, but insiders confirm she charters Gulfstream G550S when needed, ensuring comfort and privacy while touring or managing global projects. Business-wise, Cher's involvement stretches beyond music and acting. She's invested in health startups, held shares in eco-friendly consumer brands, and even dabbled in tech through early angel investments. Her fragrance lines and fashion collaborations have brought in millions, and her Vegas residencies remain top earners. Financial advisors close to Cher reveal she's protected herself with robust insurance policies. Health, career interruption, and asset protection are all part of her portfolio. Learning from past mistakes, she now surrounds herself with a tight team of legal and financial experts, ensuring no contract is signed without scrutiny. Just as she was beginning to breathe again, the past came knocking. Cher's rekindled career in television, music, and acting had lifted her from the shadows. But the personal toll wasn't something she could ignore forever. Marriage to Gregg Allman had already been on the edge, and the relentless pace of fame only widened the cracks. The cameras caught her smile, but behind the scenes, the reality was unraveling. Distance and unresolved wounds became louder than any applause. Gregg filed for divorce. Could have been the end, again. Fate, always one step ahead, had another twist in store. Cher discovered she was pregnant. Suddenly, the narrative changed. The fragile thread connecting them was tied once more by hope. Their son, Elijah Blue, became their anchor, the light in the middle of their storm. Yet even with the joy of new life, peace remained elusive. The love was real, but the peace was fleeting. They fought for it. Some love stories are written to teach, not to last. In 1978, it was over for good. Years later, Cher would look back with quiet reflection, acknowledging a deep connection scarred by the weight of reality. Another chapter closed, she stood again at the edge of uncertainty. Her music wasn't charting. Her name didn't carry the same weight it once had. The industry that once adored her was now shifting its gaze elsewhere. Cher never vanished. She pivoted. Signing with Casablanca Records, known for its disco legacy, she stepped into a world far removed from her rock roots. It was a gamble, but Take Me Home changed everything. Drenched in sequins and disco heat, the song exploded onto the charts. Suddenly the world remembered her. Cher was back, but not as before. This was a woman reborn in mirrorball light. She became a disco queen, reinvented and radiant. But even in success, tension followed. Her next album, Prisoner, aimed to blend rock and disco. But the conflict between label expectations and her personal vision left it stranded. It failed to connect. Critics didn't get it. Charts didn't move. But Cher didn't wait for permission to change. She shifted again. In 1980, she formed a rock band called Black Rose with her then-partner guitarist Les Dudek. It was gritty, loud, and full of fire. Exactly the kind of musical grit she longed to unleash. But fate had one more curveball. Her name was nowhere on the album. Most fans didn't even know she was behind the mic. Without her star power up front, the album faded and dissolved. The relationship dissolved. Dreams stalled once more. Still, she didn't flinch. She had tried pop, disco, and rock, and now she turned to acting. It was a bold move for someone constantly underestimated. But in 1983, she made her film debut in Silkwood, sharing the screen with Hollywood legends Meryl Streep and Kurt Russell. And in that role, Cher was unrecognizable. Not as a singer, not as a performer, but as a serious, powerhouse actress. Performance stunned critics and audiences alike. She earned a Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination. This wasn't reinvention anymore. This was resurrection. She kept pushing. Mask Suspect. Films that allowed her to show more than glamour. Films that demanded soul, depth, raw emotion. Each performance peeled back another layer of who Cher truly was. But the breakthrough of a lifetime arrived in 1987. That year, she starred in Moonstruck. It was lightning in a bottle. Playing Loretta Castorini, a widowed woman caught between logic and love, Cher delivered a performance both grounded and unforgettable. What began as a subtle wave of fatigue slowly grew into a storm Cher never expected. The symptoms seemed harmless at first, just exhaustion, maybe a touch of stress. But the reality was far more serious. Hidden illness began taking a toll on her body and her vibrant spirit. Someone who had once dominated the stage with unmatched energy, being forced into stillness was nothing short of devastating. She battled silently, developing pneumonia, her strength ebbing away until even her voice, a symbol of her power, had to go quiet. Roles she once longed for had to be turned down. Performances were canceled. Just when it seemed like the lights might dim for good, she rose again. The power of her return wasn't loud. It was slow, deliberate, and built on resilience rather than applause. While Hollywood often glamorizes comebacks, Cher's was forged in quiet suffering, making it even more profound. Yet as she was rebuilding, someone from her past had begun a transformation of his own. Sonny Bono, once her partner on and off stage, had stepped away from the entertainment world entirely. In the late 80s, he was making waves in a completely different sphere. Politics. First as mayor of Palm Springs, then as a U.S. congressman, Sonny proved he was more than a punchline from a variety show. Vision. He had drive. Then, the unthinkable happened. During a vacation in Aspen, a tragic accident ended Sonny's life far too soon. The news sent shockwaves through the world, but none felt it more than Cher. She flew from London to be with her family, and at his memorial, she didn't show up as a superstar. She arrived as a woman grieving a man who had once been her everything. Eulogy was raw, heartfelt. She didn't speak of fame or friction. She spoke of respect, love, and the transformative journey they shared. It was a moment that reminded everyone. Behind the sparkle, Cher had always been deeply human. As the years passed, she would continue to wear many hats: icon, actress, singer. But perhaps the most challenging was being a mother. Her son Elijah Blue Allman gave a rare, honest glimpse into their complicated bond. At just 7, he was sent to boarding school. A move he admitted felt like being pushed away. The wound never quite healed. "It's hard to feel like you're not being shunned," he said years later, his voice still carrying the weight of that early abandonment. And yet, he didn't speak with anger. He spoke with a quiet understanding, a grown man still trying to make peace with a childhood shaped by distance. In 2013, there was hope. Elijah and his wife moved in with Cher, an effort to rebuild what fame and time had strained. It was short-lived. Another rift, details kept private, pushed them apart again. Even so, Elijah never stopped loving her. "She's really talented. She's gorgeous. I mean, she's Cher," he said with a soft smile. Their story wasn't one of perfect healing, but of persistence, of trying again, of love that exists even in silence. Behind that name, Cher, lies an empire as legendary as her voice. Today, her net worth is estimated to be over $360 million, not only on album sales and film roles, but on smart investments. Her real estate portfolio alone includes luxurious properties in Beverly Hills, Malibu, and Italy, collectively valued at over $100 million. Her taste in cars is equally iconic, from vintage Ferraris to sleek Bentleys. She's often seen donning custom designer watches from Cartier and Rolex. Cher also owns a Gulfstream jet, a symbol of the life she's built flying high after decades of turbulence. What truly sets her apart is how she's safeguarded her empire. Shrewd insurance policies covering her health, touring commitments, and even voice protection. Cher has navigated Hollywood's unpredictability with remarkable foresight. She's also invested in tech startups, fashion collaborations, and charitable foundations, ensuring her legacy reaches far beyond entertainment. Lesson: diversify, protect what matters, never stop evolving. In a world that's constantly changing, Cher remains a testament to what it means to rise, rebuild, and reign on your own terms. If you loved diving into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button, Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your take. And subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more deep dives, secrets, and untold stories from the stars you thought you knew. Until then, remember, legends aren't born, they're built. And Cher built hers one reinvention at a time. Catch you in the next one.